What's up? How you doing? Here we are, Rydell High behind me from the movie Grease. Came out in 1978. When I come here, I feel like I'm in the 50s. And as everybody knows, the 50s were never completed. But it gives you that feeling, you know, like Danny Zuko, Hickey from Kanicki, Sandy. Big fan of that movie. When it came out, I went and saw that, and I really thought that everybody in high school looked that old. So when it was my time to go to high school, I remember I said to myself, "You don't look old enough," because I thought everybody in high school looked like the cast from Grease. But in reality, the cast from Grease was 27 and up, most of them. But yeah, I come here and I picture how it would have been here in the 1950s. What a cool decade that was. I know there were issues. Every decade has issues. But it also had the greasers and that style, you know, that feeling. Sometimes when I go down to what's that place called? Bob's Big Boy. When I go down to Bob's Big Boy, I see all those guys that came here and now they're in their 80s. So yeah, those guys down at Bob's Big Boy, Mama's boy, going home, give Mama a kiss on the cheek. But anyway, those guys down at Bob's Big Boy, Friday nights, they have all their muscle cars there, and they're all like late 70s, early 80s, and I go, those were the guys that were in their prime in the 1950s. But yeah, the 50s were never completed. You know, when I come to places like this, I feel like I'm in the 50s. I feel like it's 1957. Just looking inside and seeing what it looks like gives you that feeling. I went to a school that was kind of like this, this shape. Not the exterior, but it kind of had this feel. And you know, even when I was there, because the school was very old, I always imagined it from a different time. You know, with older cars in the front. But here I picture it with 1950s cars all over the place. And how it looked like, you know, when you see those yearbooks, sometimes I go to an antique shop and I look at the yearbooks they have, you know, on sale. And I will look at them and see the pictures in there, the funny haircuts, the girls with the buns or whatever, guys with their hair combed back and the sideburns. And when I'm here, that's what it feels like. It feels like those people with that style should be coming out of those doors right about now. Only that it's nighttime, but you know what I mean. So when I saw the movie Grease for the first time, it was 1978. And so from the time the movie takes place, so the setting is 1957 to 78, is only 21 years. And yet, when I was a kid, it felt like the 50s were much, much, much before that. Now you go 21 years back, and it would be like making a movie today in the year 2003. You know, it wouldn't seem like there was much of a change, but from the 50s to the 70s, it seemed like a huge change. The cars looked way different. The hairstyles, everything had changed. And of course, the 50s were never completed, so, you know, might have felt shorter. But, like, to me, if you say 21 years ago, I go, okay, that was 2003. Doesn't seem that long ago. But in 78, 21 years ago, if you told me 21 years ago and it was 1957, it seemed like a long time before. And it really wasn't. So people watching that movie back then would have, like adults I'm saying, would have felt like I feel now about 2003. They would have been like, yeah, 1957, not that long ago. But one of my favorite movies. just the feel of it, and it had cool songs. I remember this kid Chris in my class brought in the album, or the tape, and we couldn't stop playing it. We played it until we got sick of it, and then about an hour later we were craving it again. Greased Lightning, you know, that Shana Now song, Rock and Roll Is Here to Stay. But so many good songs. We Go Together, Hopelessly Devoted to You, that Beauty School Dropout. There's so many good songs, and when you hear the music and you see the movie, it gives you a feeling inside. I know it gave me one, you know, but what a good time it was, high school years. And they go rapidly. I do remember though, when I was in high school, when I got into 11th grade, the first day of 11th grade, my 11th grade English teacher, he said to us, if you think the first two years went by fast, the second two, he goes, go by even faster. And he was right. The first two went by fast, but the second two, they flew by. And, you know, think about it, 4 years is not that long. But that's what he said. He said, if you think the first 2 years went by fast, the second two go by, or whatever he said, even faster. Yep. I don't think that guy's with us anymore, because he was a little bit on the old side back then. Another thing high school reminds me of, when I was going into, I think it was the 7th grade, the day before school started, we went with my father to get pizza at the local pizza shop. It was like 4 blocks away from my house. We ordered the pizza, and there were these girls that were ahead of us. They were waiting for their pizza to, you know, get done in the oven there. And they were talking, they were seniors, and they were talking, can you believe it, we're seniors this year? You know, we're at the top. And I was looking at them and I go, wow, they're seniors. Now, they were like 5 years older than me, but to me, when they said they were seniors, I felt like they had gone through some, you know, really, really extraordinary event to get to that point. And then, you know, flew by, but I remember them, they had their hair done. One of them was like a bleach blonde girl with a lot of lipstick, and they were talking about how they had 1 more year. Yeah, time flies. High school years.
Hi, I haven't done this in a while. So we're here at the movie Grease's high school, but I've never been here. This is like my first time. And I just thought, oh look, we're gonna go to a school, that's cool. And then I find out that it's the school that was used in Grease, and it's a real school. And I've always loved that movie. It was such a good movie. I always thought that they're from Greece, the place, and then I soon found out, oh, they use a lot of grease in their hair. Yeah. So I picked these flowers. They smell like white tea, and I'm just happy to be here. It's sprinkling a little bit. It was a little cloudy. My outfit. Happy to be here.
So every so often when I'm in an antique shop, I will pick up the old yearbooks. Sometimes I buy them, you know, sometimes they're from local schools around here, high schools, and I just go through them like I'm in a time machine. I enjoy, you know, I look at them because, first of all, the kids back then looked a lot more mature than the 15 to 18-year-olds look like now. Just something about them, they looked older. But I always picture them acting like, you know, when I was a kid, they would show those educational films. They were on reels, film. You push it through the projector, would make that. So we'd sit there and watch on hygiene or Don't Talk to Strangers. And it was always these 1950s kids in places like this high school. And you know, for me, it was I don't know about the innocence of the time in reality, but it looked more innocent than it does now. And so I would watch those. I remember in the 5th grade, my teacher was big on showing those for science class. He would bring in, you know, oral hygiene or etiquette, manners, things like that. And there were all these things from the early like 50s, late 40s, that time frame. And it probably wasn't the case when the camera would go off, but it seemed like people were more respectable of others in terms of, you know, the way they behaved in public. Now it's a little bit different, but, you know, and I want to quote a famous line from a Billy Joel song, which I believe to be true. The good old days weren't always good, and tomorrow's not as bad as it seems. Or it ain't as bad as it seems. The good old days weren't always good. And that's true. So what happens is you forget the bad times, or how bad the bad times were in the old days, and you start thinking, wow, it was better in the old days. But in actuality, it had problems back then too, you know. But for me, it was, you know, a good time to grow up, 1950s. And I know there were issues, you know, things were going on in the 50s, just like any other decade. But from the rearview mirror that we look at now, the 50s seem to be a more peaceful time. Maybe Leave It to Beaver has a lot to do with that impression. All right, time to go, head back home, getting a little bit late. When I was in the 6th grade, we had a library teacher, and his name was Mr. Perkins. And Mr. Perkins, he had grease in his hair, he had it combed to the back, and he lived like it was 1957. Every Friday or Saturday, he would go to these 50s parties. He belonged to some organization that kept the 50s alive. Now, he's probably no longer around either, because he was kind of old back then. When I say old, he was probably like 60. And being that it was a lot of years ago, I don't think he's around. But yeah, he had the grease in the hair. And I bet you he was a fan of the movie Grease. Anyway, that's it for now. Ciao.